What's up? Good morning. Back to our regular Sunday morning 9 a.m. spot after the postseason and quickly in the beginning of the off season had us running around with the holidays and such. All right, we're good on that. Cool. So let's talk, shall we? So we have a few things that we're going to do this morning. Some announcements, breakdown of the Dirty Bowl, and round one of the Dream Bracket that we set up last week. Just to remind you, on the Pioneer website, pioneersportsinc.com. I'll post it in the comments. We have a what if scenario of, let me show you real quick. Pardon the lack of graphics. You know, the big show has all the bigger budget, so to speak. So we have our Dynasty bracket, the ones that made the top four in the region. What up? Earl got me. This is a official alumni. Morning. So here we go. I'm not going to read it out loud. We'll get to that in a few. So we're going to go talk about a few other things before getting to who our round one winners would be. So first thing I want to say is congratulations to the New York Bandits for winning their Dirty Bowl game yesterday. Went down to Charlotte, North Carolina, and took care of business in a really big way, 28-0. The game was, with the Southern bias when it comes to announcing, how dominant the performance was, because even the announcers were like taking most of their time to explain how ineffective the Electric City Chargers offense was. And they made a game of it, and if you didn't get to see it, make sure you check out the rebroadcast. They made a game of trying to figure out how many yards versus how many plays the Chargers had. Big testament to the Bandit program, able to head down all the way 10 hours or so to Charlotte and take care of business. In the other game, Silverbacks came up a little bit short. It is what it is. Like it's a tough gig. It's a very tough gig. It's a very tough gig to travel, especially 10 hours. It's not for the weak. Respect for those that actually attempt it and get it done, executing it. If you don't win, you don't talk about how many guys you have, how many guys you don't have. It doesn't matter. You lined up, you played ball, you came up short. Hey, next time. But does that mean you don't make the trip at all? No, I think you absolutely make the trip because you don't have a shot to win if you don't, give it a try and get down there. So I'm not, not into moral victories per se, but that's the process. And for a first-year program, and everybody kind of treats the Silverbacks as a veteran organization that's been around for a while. This is their first year, and to do a 10-hour trip in your first year as an organization, hats off to them. So, great job to those guys. But the Bandit game, let me also go to. I keep on saying this about the best coaches in semi-pro football, and of course, much respect to Tony Spina. He's in a category of his own at this particular point. So as soon as somebody talks about great coaching, somebody mentions Spina and acts like their feelings were hurt. So I've mentioned Spina, got it, check. However, I keep on saying it. Sean Kelman and his defense is to be reckoned with. Let me just say, besides shutting down the Chargers offense, and by the way, they had the score wrong, so I tuned in a little late after the first score, and they gave it to the wrong side. So I'm thinking that the Bandits were down 8-0, and meanwhile they were up 8-0, which was interesting because the announcers were talking about how dominant the Bandits have been. I'm like, how are they dominant and down 8-0? And then as soon as the Bandits scored their second touchdown, they fixed the scoreboard, and it was 14-0 Bandits. However, when the Electric City Chargers took out their starting quarterback and put number 3 in, who was a more mobile quarterback, started moving the ball better than the first quarterback. Black called a timeout, got the troops together, shut it down, and held the donut. A national competition. I'm not going to call it a natty because it wasn't a national championship game. That comes in Miami, February 16th. They're playing the Cincinnati Dukes down in Miami. Big shout out to those guys. I'll be in the Dominican Republic during that time, so I won't be able to make that trip. But good luck to those guys. Wish I could make it. But here's the thing. Called a timeout, got the troops together, and then found a solution. Like made actual adjustments on the field. In-game adjustments is what separate the good ones from the great ones. So I keep on saying it. Coach Black, I mean, one of the best, if not the best, the best defensively in the region. I'll stand up and name one that's better. So nonetheless, no, I don't want your stuff. Okay, cool. So that was the Bandit game. Next up, some other announcements. Spin Move coming back to semi-pro football. He's going to be doing some games for the ECFL. Will that reach to our neck of the woods? Possibly. You never know. Especially with, I think there might be some crossover games in the future, maybe when teams are playing more nationals, and this kind of like breaks down the barriers of guys taking the opportunity to attempt to do games that are a little bit more traditionally that have been out of their reach, more in reach now. So maybe Spin Move will come back regional for the culture, so to speak. But he's ECFL, so at least back in semi-pro football, he's doing his thing when it comes to the youth football thing. So big shout out to Spin. One of the questions that he's been coming up with, and if you don't see his stuff on Spin Move 360, make sure you check that out as well. He was talking about the best, this in semi-pro football, the best that in semi-pro football, and one of the questions was the best internet or presence or social media presence in the game. And of course the Herd is up there because they do their thing. There's a couple other teams that were up there, but the one that I could absolutely hands down for me at this point is number 1, no disrespect to number 2, 3, or 4, is the Dolphins. New York Dolphins. Just everything that they put out is crisp, except for that whole NYPD thing. Aside from that, everything else, what they put out is absolutely crisp. It's polished. It doesn't have like the common mistakes that you see in semi-pro football. They announced they have another board member at their organization, Renzo Devia, who had had a stop in the Crusaders. So, coming from an awesome organization as the New York Crusaders. But when you look at his resume, besides being in semi-pro football, coaching for the Brooklyn Bengals, he actually has experience on other levels as well. Some looks like independent football, high school football, et cetera, et cetera. So when it comes down to it, structure and organization, you can't go wrong with. So as you're paying attention to off-season announcements, make sure you pay attention to that announcement. Those announcements in terms of front office. Next up is the NEAFL announced their schedule. Their schedule is out. It's the teams have taken them and kind of posted them everywhere as well. NEAFL, those guys doing a great job, obviously, with what's going on with the Den. They have received a windfall, so to speak, and are up to, I think, 14 teams, possibly 16. I'll double check on that. But again, schedule's out. Pretty interesting stuff. So we'll start circling games, and next week we'll start circling games, some games to watch we want to check out, maybe make some road trips and support. Again, the Patterson support tour, coming your way, because all those years in which you guys have supported my programs and want to support yours as well. Definitely want to make it to a Herd home game. That is on my semi-pro bucket list, 100%. So we'll check that out. So that's that. The next thing that I want to really briefly speak on, no cords to my coffee cup, which is backwards, by the way. Al Austin. And if you don't know who Al Austin is, you don't know much about semi-pro football. But Al Austin, Dexter Gervin, used to do I think it was Great Dad's Club, or I forgot exactly what it was called. But Al Austin was also always highlighting uh, things that he was doing with his kids. As you know, his sons played for the Brooklyn Mariners and played semi-pro football. One of them ended up doing some acting jobs and appeared on television when it came to Sunday Night Football or Monday Night Football, like the people that dress up in the uniforms as the NFL players and do the promos and such, like basically like a NFL football stuntman, so to speak. And he would do an Awesome Dads Club where he would highlight, just posting pictures of players with their either kids on the sideline or things that they were doing outside of the game with their kids, which was absolutely awesome. And I think we need to get back to that. That was an absolute great positive thing to bring to the table that I want to make sure that we don't lose because, Al's not really involved in the game anymore. He's just watching from far, just as Dexter is and what have you. So I'm going to put up a post a little bit later with Al's stuff on it and an ode to Al and his great dad. I had a SAT word, but I completely lost it. Anyway, his dedication or his post towards the great dads of semi-pro football. So make sure you get your best picture of you and your kids. It doesn't have to be on a football field, but just you spending quality time and awesome time. And I also want to kind of kick it up a level as well. As I see William Westbury in the comments this year, as you're Westbury, last year I was around your area in Iowa. This year I'm heading out to St. Louis and doing vacationing with the wife and the kids in the Ozarks, which is pretty dope. Some like wildernessy stuff or what have you. As you see the wife laughing in the background. So I got some awesome pictures of us last year at Yellowstone and Omaha, Nebraska, Omaha, and doing some great things. So make sure you put up pictures of you doing great dad things. Again, what's the purpose of having a community like this? We can't, celebrate stuff like that. So even Molly, I don't like you, Molly. I always have to preface it by saying that. Don't like Molly. However, when he's on the live and his son gets on the live, it just takes on a whole different vibe. And it's just, again, it's why we do this thing, man. It's the purpose of life, so to speak, is, what you hand down to your children. So, and what better thing to hand down to your children than a bunch of memories? Even as we take down our Christmas trees from the holidays and such, focus on the people as opposed to the presents. And, have good presents. So anyway, off the soapbox on that one. So let's get to this Dynasty Dream season. Anybody have any commentary? Please let me know. Cool. All right, so in the first matchup of the Dynasty Dream Season, let me go because I do have some upsets, and I know I'm going to get some pissed off people. It's good. You'll get over it. Because I didn't want to go straight, the ones beating the fours and the twos beating the threes, because after looking at some film and doing some research and stuff, I think there might be an upset or two, but let's talk about it. So first we'll go to the New England bracket. And after speaking to a couple people from the New England area and getting some information, hey, what do you think about this particular program versus that particular program? Who do you think would win? We have the Shamrocks versus the Middleborough Cobras. And from top to bottom, it seems like the Shamrocks have the best talent overall, especially up front. The big boys on both offensive and defensive lines would be a little bit too much for the Cobras to withstand. And by the way, the Rock was still the Rock even when the Cobras were running. So in the first round, we have the Marlboro Shamrocks defeating the Middleborough Cobras, the one beating the four. In the 2-3 game, the higher seeds hold serve. Hey, what's up? Congratulations, Bandits. In the 2-3 game of the Boston Bandits versus the Lowell Nor'easter, a lot of people said the Bandits were just those dudes at a time in which football was big-time football. So we're going to go ahead and take the Boston Bandits. Let me show you the bracket. Boop. We're going to take the Boston Bandits advancing as the 2 seed over the Lowell Nor'easter. So that brings us to the next round, second round matchup. Shamrocks versus the Bandits, which that's the Boston Bandits, by the way. So we'll go over that next week in the second round wrap-up. Let's go out to the Northwest. So we got upstate representing, and the 1 seed Scranton Eagles, which this program is just both folklore, like it's one of those tales of I went fishing and the fish was like this big type of thing. Took a look. There's not a lot of film on them, not a lot of footage. It does seem as though they were beneficiaries of just the sport not being. I mean, they had quite a reign. Don't get me wrong. They played some talented teams. Don't get me wrong. But the amount of people that were participating on the level just wasn't quite there. And from what I've heard, the Monroe Sting were absolute beasts. Like they caught lightning in a bottle and ran off a bunch of championships. So I'm going to go ahead. Hold on for 1 second. Let me just give you the exact information. So Scranton Eagles, 71, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88. So they were basically the team of the 80s and the team of the 90s. Monroe County Sting, 05, 07, 09, 15, and 16. So Monroe County was playing, 5 championships compared to 15 is daunting. However, the 80s, I can't get them. Can't get them. So anyway, long story short is Scranton gets upset in the first round, gets bumped by the Monroe County Sting. So the 4 beats the 1 to advance to the second round. In our next game in the Northwest region, we have the Albany Metro Maulers taking on the Buffalo Gladiators. Gladiators, late 90s, early 2000s, they went on a run. Pretty impressive run as well. Albany, though, this would pushed Albany over the top in winning this first round matchup. Albany played the Seminoles. Albany traveled and played competition, and from a national standpoint, playing nationals, I got to give them the nod because they were playing outside of their league, tougher competition. So I have the Maulers advancing to the next round. They give you the bracket, boom. So the Eagles get upset by the Monroe County Sting, so the 4 beats the 1. Albany advances as the number 2 seed. They take on the 3 seed in the next round. Boom. Okay, so now we go to the South because, again, most of the people that are going to be pissed off are going to be in the Mid-Atlantic. So in the South, first round we have Chambersburg versus Virginia Crusaders. Virginia Crusaders were kind of like the dark horse. They were a quiet dynasty in that regard, where I didn't even know much about them. And after kind of digging through the records and such, which is very difficult to find, 08, 2010, 2012, 2013, 2014. However, didn't really make the national footprint, didn't make a lot of noise nationally. Chambersburg, however, absolutely did. And Chambersburg, if you see some of the footage against really top competition, including CPP, those boys were different. I mean, absolutely different. Chambersburg is a juggernaut. It's not even close. They beat the Crusaders on their worst day. So the Chambersburg goes on to the second round. In the next matchup, you have the Prince William Monarchs versus CPP. Now, the Monarchs have a national footprint. They traveled very well. CPP did play top competition for a while. However, the one game that I really got to see them play, it was when Brooklyn came to them. And we went out to Little Earl knows the story, Lillet's, I pronounce it Little Tits, Pennsylvania, to take on CPP. So the question is, what is CPP's signature road win? But here's the thing. The Monarchs took their show on the road often. However, they lost a bunch of those games. So I'm going to take CPP. The 2 advanced to play the 1. And, hold on, boop. There you go. There's the bracket right there. Chambersburg moves on to the second round to play CPP. Again, we'll have the winners of the second round matchups next week. So now we're going to talk Mid-Atlantic. Oh boy, here we go. So start yelling, start screaming, start tantruming all you want. I didn't want to be a homer on this one, and I tried to be as objective as possible. However, all four of the teams in the Mid-Atlantic region I've seen play. The Mariners I didn't really see during their heyday, got it, but the Rebels, very familiar with. Noles, very familiar with. Bandits, very, very familiar with. Coached for the Bandits, coached against the Bandits. Know these teams inside out. So let's start with the Mariners and Rebels. Now, the Mariners, of course, pay homage to Pudgy Walsh, 100%. Going back to the Korean War, those guys have had more time in, and they have more championships than anybody else. 26 to be exact. However, 1960s, it's like the Yankees fans, by the way. By the way, as an Eagles fan, it's really annoying because when I talk about Eagles championships in 1948, 1949, and 1960, New York Giant fans sit there and go, hey, it's not Super Bowl, it's not Super Bowl. Tell me about how many Super Bowls you got. And then literally as soon as spring training hits, they're talking about 26, 27-time champion. We won in 1924 and 1928 and 1932. And we were back-to-back in 42 and 43 or whatever all that dumb shit is. Anyway, regardless, Mariners, absolute juggernaut. The 90s, they dominated. Early 2000s, they absolutely dominated. However, who are they playing in the early 2000s? GSFL, they had one big-time rival, which was the Long Island Seahawks. Am I overly impressed by the Long Island Seahawks? I am not. Let's talk about Coach Green's New York Rebels. The Rebels didn't have that many championships. They only won 4 times, 09, 2010, 17, and 19. However, when you look at the teams that they were playing and the reason why, like literally they caught the Connecticut Giants dynasty, and the Connecticut Giants, although longevity, I should say, kept them out of the bracket, that team was a great team. And had it not been for them, the Rebels would have at least one other championship, possibly 2. If it wasn't for the New York Bandits dynasty, the Rebels would have another 1 or 2 championships. If it wasn't for the Brooklyn Seminoles in the 5-star and the MLF, the New York Rebels would have 2 or 3 more championships, possibly 4. So we're literally talking about, the butterfly effect. One little thing in history, if the Seminoles have an issue and close up shop, we're talking about the Rebels running off 12 years of dominance. So it was for that reason. And I'm sorry, but I'm not. I have the Rebels upsetting the number 1 seed, the number 1 overall seed, Brooklyn Mariners, in the first round. You guys will get over it. And again, if you disagree, please make sure you fill out your bracket and offer your opinions on it. So because the Rebels played like 5 dynasties, the Rebels played against like 5 other dynasties, I have to take them over the Mariners. And I know in certain circles that's sacrilegious, but I guess we're just going to have a sacrilegious day. In the 2-3 game, you have the Brooklyn Seminoles versus the New York Bandits. Now, this is a tougher one. Now, if you're a Bandit, you think the Bandits would win this game. And I'm sure Q will come up here and Earl will come up here and a bunch of other Bandit Blue guys will come up here and talk about all the times that they have beaten the Seminoles and sent them packing early. And it was a first round exit for the Noles on their way to, actual, real dudes type of thing, like, right? Real competition or better competition. And for the Seminoles guys, they're going to point out, hey, I was in elementary school when that happened, so why do I care? We're the best. We've ran off 12 years, 99, let's see. Take 99 out for a second, but respect to the Noles for getting it done in 99. 13, 14, 15, 16, 18, 20, 21, 22, 23, and 24. So they are the team of the 2010s and the 2020s. Bandits are the team of the 2000s. when it comes to the region. And head-to-head, the Bandits won. Now, here's the thing, and this I would love to hear a conversation about, especially when the Bandit guys and the Seminole guys wake up this morning, many of which are in Charlotte, North Carolina right now as we speak. The question is, which Seminole team, like you could do, testament to the Seminole program, you could do a bracket of just Seminole teams. So which Seminole team do you think is the best Seminole team? So now if you're talking about the earlier Seminoles teams who went head-to-head with the Bandits got a pretty good argument on this thing. However, I cannot ignore literally dominating year after year after year after year, and it wasn't even close. And on top of it, from a Nationals perspective, 7-time going to Nationals and winning Nationals multiple times. Bandits went to Nationals, I think, twice. Won it once. Here's the thing, though. Bandits' path to Nationals a lot harder than the Seminoles' path to Nationals of late. Because when the Bandits, in the 2000s, I should say, the road to the Nationals, not only did you have to win your league, you had to have a preseason game or two under your belt to kind of get your resume together. And you had to enter the Harvest Bowl or the Metro Bowl, and you had to win. And in those games, there was some very, very tough competition. So that Bandit team played the Predators during their heyday. That Bandit team played the... who else in the national picture? Oh, it was the Predators. They played the Miami Bulls. They played... Golly, they were playing further competition as well than some of the newer Seminoles teams. Even those MLF teams were playing a little bit larger of a geographic footprint. However, in season, the Bandits were playing in Baltimore and South Carolina and North Carolina routinely, like in league games. Can't really discount that. The Bandits also played against the Maulers and beat the Maulers. The Bandits played against the Connecticut Giants, the Rebels. So they played against some really, really tough competition. However, I'm going to go with the Noles. Noles going on to the next round. Again, you can disagree with me. Played in Atlanta, go to the national championship. Yes, indeed. So that's why a lot of the Bandit vets are going to absolutely roast me for this, but it is what it is. I have the Rebels advancing over the Mariners, and I have the Seminoles advancing over the Bandits. So there's the bracket. The bracket is updated. Again, if you disagree, that's cool. Tell me what you disagree with and why. And let's have some fun with it. Against the offseason, there's a lot worse things you could be doing with your offseason. And, yes, the shirt is definitely valid. So, yeah, definitely get your apparel. And, oh, by the way, for those, I know some people are going to be, whatever. Oh, you're a homer. And I got, big shout out to David Ugarte yesterday, doing his thing, had a hell of a year. So, absolutely impressed. Again, listen to the commentary on the announcing for the game, and you'll see that they were very impressed with David Ugarte's performance. Very impressive performance indeed. If you're from one of these other teams or what have you, and you got some gear, man, just let me know. I'll send a Cash App your way. Send me some gear, and I'll put it on the show. No worries. If I'm at a game, as you know, I'll be at the concession stand as well. That's pretty much it. So for another episode, if you have any questions, commentary, I'll check the comments. Besides the checking to see for shirt sizes and such. Spellman gear, yes! Big shout out to Cardinal Spellman. Big shout out to all my high school coaches and such. I definitely will be making that tour around again this year. So, all right, y'all. I'll holla.